Hi, in this chapter we are going to talk about how to join multiple tables, and for this purpose we are going to create two database tables because I would like to show you on small examples that what's the difference between the several types of joins. So we are going to have a table university, it's going to have a university ID and a university name. Of course, the primary key will be the university ID. And then we are going to insert two items into the database table, MIT and Harvard, with ID 1 and ID 2. Then we are going to create the person database table. We will have the person ID, we will have the person name and the person age, and we will have the university. The primary key will be the person ID and the foreign key will be the university. So this university will be referencing the university ID in the university database table. So that's why foreign key university, so this university references the university database table, and what field, what column, the university ID column. Okay, and then we are going to insert several person into the person database table: Kevin, Joe, Anna, Adam, Daniel, Ariana, and Michelle. As you can see, we are going to insert null values for the university if the given person does not attend the given university. But for example, Anna and Adam are attending the University of MIT. Okay. Then Daniel is attending the University of Harvard. Again, Ariana and Michelle do not attend any universities at all. So that's why we will have null values if the given person do not attend the given university, and we will have the university ID if the given person is attending a given university such as MIT or Harvard. So you just have to download this text file from the last lecture of this course. You just have to copy and we just have to paste it in MySQL workbench, and we just have to execute the selected statements. And if you update the schemes, you will have a person database table. So let's select everything from the person database table. As you can see, we have Joe, Anna, Adam, and so on, and we have the university table. So select rows, MIT and Harvard. So this is exactly what we were looking for. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about how to join database tables. Thanks for watching. In the previous chapters, we have been talking about how to deal with a single table, so how to create a single database table, how to insert entries into a single database table. Then we have been talking about how to connect database tables with the help of foreign keys, and in this lecture we are going to talk about how to retrieve data from multiple database tables, so basically how to join database tables. Okay, so the motivation behind joining tables is that what if we want to combine the values of multiple database tables? Of course, this is when we have to use the join keyword, and there are several ways to combine multiple tables. We have the inner join, we have left join, right join, and finally we have full join. So first of all, let's talk about inner join. Okay, so inner join selects records that have matching values in both database tables. So we are going to take a look at a concrete example, and it is going to be clear what's happening under the hood. As far as the Venn diagram representation is concerned, inner join is the intersection of the two database tables. So if we have the first database table, we have the second database table, then inner join has something to do with the intersection of these database tables. Okay, so for example, we have a person database table with an ID, name, age, and the university. Of course, university is the foreign key. So university is going to be another database table with an ID and a name parameter. And as you can see, the university in the person database table has something to do with the primary keys of the university database table. So when we have a value 1 in the person database table, then of course it is the MIT University. If we have university with value 2, then of course this is the Harvard University. Okay, so what if we would like to combine the two database tables. And of course, you may pose the question that why is it necessary to combine the database tables? For example, we would like to select the person name from the person database table, and instead of an integer representation of the university, we are after the name of that given university. So what do we have to do? First of all, we need the names as far as the person table is concerned, and we need the names as far as the university table is concerned. So basically, we have to join the two database tables. And we can select the person.person name, the university table.university name from person inner join university. So we are going to use inner join between the two database tables. And of course, we have to define the relationship between the two database tables. Of course, the university value is the same as the ID of the university database table. And this is exactly what's happening here. The person.university is equal to the university database table.university ID primary key. And what's going to be the result? The result is going to store Anna with name MIT, Adam with name Harvard. So again, if we take a look at the Venn diagram, then it is clear that what's going to be the result set. So for example, we have Kevin and Joe, but of course these names are not present in the result set. And you may pose the question why? Because Kevin and Joe do not attend any universities, so the university parameter is equals to a null. Then you may pose the question that, okay, why don't we have a Cambridge as far as the university names are concerned? And again, we can come to the conclusion that the ID of the Cambridge University is equals to 3, and if we check the person database table, there is no person in the table that has the university with value 3, which means that none of these persons attend Cambridge as a university. And of course, this is why Cambridge is not part of the result set. So for example, table 2 is the universities, and we have MIT and Harvard in the intersection, but Cambridge is outside the intersection. It is the same with the first table as far as the people are concerned. We have Anna and Adam in the intersection, and we have Kevin and Joe outside the scope of the intersection. And inner join is going to return values within the intersection. So basically it returns with a valid name and a valid university. If there is a university without a given person attending that given university, then the university is not going to be returned. If there is a valid name without a valid university, then that given person is not going to be part of the result set. Okay, so this is the basic concept behind inner join, and as you can see, in an inner join, there cannot be null values. We are going to take a look at left join and right join, and there may be several null values. Here, when dealing with inner join, it is absolutely crucial that the result set is going to contain valid values for the given parameters. Here we are dealing with the person name and the university names. This is what we are going to talk about in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. In the previous lecture, we have been talking about the theoretical background for inner join. So first of all, let's take a look at the database tables we are going to handle. So let's select everything from the person table. Okay, so if we do something like this, then of course we have several persons: Kevin, Joe, Adam, Daniel, and so on. And as you can see, Anna, Adam, and Daniel are attending a given university. All the other students have null values as far as the university foreign key is concerned. Okay, so let's select everything from the university. As far as the universities are concerned, we have 3 universities: MIT with primary key 1, Harvard with primary key 2, and Cambridge with primary key university ID 3. Okay, so these are the universities we are dealing with. And of course, we would like to get the person name from the person database table, and we would like to get the name of the university the given student is attending. And of course, this is why we have to use inner join. So we are going to select the person as far as the person name is concerned, and we can get the university database table related university name. Of course, we have to tell MySQL that we are going to use the person database table, so person something like this, inner join because we would like to join the university database table. And of course, we have to define the relationship between the two database tables. So we have to use on the person dot university is equals to the university dot university ID. So basically, this is how we can tell MySQL that, okay, we would like to use two distinct database tables, the person database table and the university database table. We need the person name from person, we need the university name from university. Of course, we have to define that we are going to get this value from the person database table as well as from the university database table, and we can define that how to join the given tables. Of course, we are going to use inner join. This is what we have been talking about in a theoretical section, that inner join selects records that have matching values in both database tables. So basically we are dealing with the intersection of two database sets. So for example, when we are dealing with this data set, then we are going to get Anna and Adam because they are attending universities. Cambridge is not present because there's no student attending Cambridge as a university, and Kevin and Joe are not present in the result because they are not attending any of the universities. So if we save and run the query, then of course, sorry for that, there's going to be a typo university name. I have the tendency to make typos. So if we rerun, then it is working fine. As you can see, we have the person name and the university name. Anna is attending MIT, Adam is attending MIT, and Daniel is attending Harvard. There's no Cambridge University because there's no students attending Cambridge, and there are no other students in the result set because there are just 3 students, Anna, Adam, and Daniel. And what's crucial that we can use the so-called alias. Here the column names are the names of the column as far as person and university tables are concerned. So we can use the so-called as alias. So we have the name and the university name as, for example, university. If we use something like this and rerun the query, then as you can see, we have the name and we have the university as far as the column names are concerned in the result. So this is how we can use inner join, and it is absolutely crucial that inner join is going to return valid values. As far as left join and right joins are concerned, there may be null values as far as the name or as far as the universities are concerned. Okay, so this is how we can achieve inner join. Thanks for watching. In the coming lectures, we are going to talk about left join. So again, what is the motivation? The motivation is that we would like to combine multiple database tables. So for example, we need a given data from a given database table, then we need another piece of data from another database table, and so on. So as far as left join is concerned, this statement returns all records from the left table and the matching records from the right table. So if we consider the Venn diagram representation of the problem, then left join produces the records in the left database table with the matching records in the right table. So basically the intersect has something to do with the matching records in the right table as well. So what does it mean exactly? If we have the same database tables we have been talking about in the previous lectures with given students and with a given university table with MIT, Harvard, and Cambridge, if we do a left join, what does it mean exactly? That for example, we would like to select the person name and the university name from person left join university, because of course we would like to use multiple database tables, the person table and the university table, and we are going to join them in a left join manner, where the person university is equal to the university.university ID. Of course, the university column is storing the foreign key, and these are representing the universities. So 1 is going to represent MIT, 2 is going to represent Harvard, and so on. So what's going to be the result? Left join is going to keep every single value as far as the left database table is concerned. The left database table is person and university is the right database table. If we take a look at the Venn diagram representation, then as you can see, we take take all the items from the left database table. So what does it mean exactly? We are after the names from the person database table. So Kevin, Joe, Anna, and Adam, these values are going to be present in the result set. And of course, MySQL is going to look for the given university names accordingly. Of course, Kevin and Joe have null values, which means that they do not attend any universities. So this is why there may be null values when dealing with a left join. It is absolutely crucial when dealing with a left join because we are keeping every single item from the left database table. It means that there cannot be null values in the left table related values, but there may be null values as far as the other database table related values are concerned. So as you can see here, the null values have something to do with university names. So university is the right database table. Okay, so because Kevin and Joe do not attend a given university, the values are null. What about Anna and Adam? Of course, Anna has the university value 1. 1 stands for MIT. Adam has the university value 2. 2 stands for Harvard. So this is why we will have the MIT and the Harvard values accordingly. So this is how we can end up with a left join. In the next lecture, we are going to take a look at a concrete example. Thanks for watching. In the previous lecture, we have been talking about inner join, and in this lecture, we are going to talk about the implementation of left join. So again, we have to select, and we are going to select the person name, and of course the university name. From, we have to specify the person table, and of course we are going to use left join as far as university database table is concerned, and we have to define the connection between the two database tables. So we have to define on and person dot university is equals to the university dot university ID. Okay, so if we do something like this and we run the query, then as you can see, we have the person name and the university name, and this is exactly what we have been talking about in a theoretical section, that in this case we are going to return every single person, so basically all the students as far as the person database is concerned, and MySQL tries to find the university accordingly. But of course Kevin, Joe, Ariana, and Michelle do not attend any universities, so this is why there's going to be null values. Anna, Adam, and Daniel are attending MIT and Harvard accordingly. So this is what we have been talking about in the previous lecture, that it may happen with a left join that the second database, so this is the first database, then we have a left join and we have another database table. This is the left database table as far as the person is concerned. University is the right database table. And as you can see, there may be null values as far as the right database related values are concerned. So this is how we can do left join, and of course sometimes it is absolutely useful. So left join is quite a useful operation, of course not as useful and as popular as inner join, because usually we are after inner join, but anyways, this is how we can execute left join. Thanks for watching. In the coming lectures, we are going to talk about right join. So again, what is the motivation behind right join? Of course, we would like to get data from multiple tables. So the right join statement returns all records from the right table and the matching records from the left table. So if we are dealing with the Venn diagram representation, then right join yields the records in the right database table as far as table 2 is concerned, with the matching records in the left table. So the intersection is going to represent the matching records as far as the two tables are concerned. So it has something to do with all the items as far as the second database table is concerned, and of course it is going to return with the matching records in the left table as far as the first database table is concerned. Okay, so if we have the database tables we have been considering in the previous lectures as well, with the person university column, and we have the university with an ID and a name, so this university column in the person database table is a foreign key basically. Okay, so if we use a right join, then as you can see, we are going to select every single university. So we are going to select MIT, Harvard, and Cambridge, no matter that there are students associated with those universities or not. And MySQL is going to look for students associated with those universities. So for example, MIT has the ID representation 1. So in the person table, MySQL is going to look for the value 1. And we have Anna. So this is why MIT will have the value Anna. Harvard has the value Adam because of course Adam is attending the Harvard University. What about Cambridge? Are there any students attending Cambridge University? Of course not. So if we take a look at the university column in the person database table, then we are not able to find the value 3 because of course none of the students attend Cambridge as the university. Okay, so this is why Cambridge will have the value null as far as the person name is concerned. So this is why we have been talking about the Venn diagram representation, because we have to return every single row as far as the second database table is concerned, and we have to return with the matching records as far as the first database table is concerned. So in the next lecture we are going to take a look at a concrete example. Thanks for watching. Hi. In this lecture, we are going to talk about the right join. So it's going to be very similar to the inner join and to the left join. So we just have to type select, and we would like to select the person name and university name. Of course, first of all, from the person database table, and we have to use the right join. So right join the university, and of course we have to specify that what's the relationship between the person database table and the university database table. So we know that the person dot university is equals to the university dot university ID. Okay, so let's run this SQL query, and as you can see we have the university names MIT, and Harvard, and the associated person names Anna, Adam, and Daniel. So that's all about the right join. It's very similar to the inner join and to the left join. By the way, usually we are looking for the inner join where we do not have to specify anything. And this is what we are going to use in the coming lectures for the country and city database table examples. Thanks for watching. Hi. In this lecture, we are going to talk about how to calculate the number of cities concerning a given country with the help of joining tables. So I would like to select country table dot name as the country, then the city table dot country code. This is what we have to count. So we have to use the count function. I would like to count the country code names concerning a given country from the given city database table, and we are going to use an alias city table. So that's why we are able to refer the country code as the city table.country code, because this city table represents the city database table. Okay. And then of course we have to join. What is this join? This is an inner join. And we are going to join the country database table. So basically this database table here. Of course we are going to use the alias as the country table. And of course we have to specify that what's the connection between the two database tables. So of course we know that the city table dot country code is equals to the country table dot code. Okay. Of course we have to use some grouping. So group by the city table dot country code, and I would like to make some ordering. So order by the num of cities in a descending order. Okay. So what is this num of cities? basically this count city table country code. So we have to use an alias as well, num of cities. So let's use again to make it a bit clearer that what's happening in the background, that we would like to select two items. First of all, the country name and the number of cities. Of course, the country table contains the name of the given country, and of course we have to count that how many cities are associated with a given country or a given country code. So that's why we are going to have the name, number of cities from the city as a database table. We use an alias as the city table. That's why we are able to refer to the country code, which is located in the city database table, as the city table.country code. And we have to make some join. So we're joining the country database table. We call it as country table. So that's why we are able to use the country table.name, which is going to refer to the name parameter in the country database table. Of course, we have to define that what's the connection between the city and the country database table. Of course, the country code and the code in the country table. We have to make some grouping because we would like to group the cities according to the countries, and we would like to make some numerical ordering in a descending order. So let's run it. Hopefully it's going to be just fine. Okay, so as you can see, China has the largest number of cities. 363 cities are located in China. Then India has 345 cities, then the United States, and so on. Again, we can use the having clause because we are not able to use the where for further filtering because we use a function like this, the count function. So we are able to use something like having the num of cities. We are curious about countries where the number of cities is greater than 100. Let's run it. And as you can see, China, India, United States, Brazil, Japan, Russia, Mexico and the Philippines fall into this category, where the number of cities is greater than 100. Okay, so as you can see, it is quite a complex query. Maybe if you use this SQL format, it is a bit better and it is not that hard to see that what's happening in the background. We keep selecting a country and the num of cities. The cities is going to be a count function. We are going to join the tables according to the country codes. Of course, we are going to group the cities according to the countries, and then we make some ordering. So this is how we join tables as well as we group given items, and of course in the end we are going to use some ordering. Okay, thanks for watching. Hi, in this lecture we would like to calculate the total population by continents. So again we have to join two tables, the city and the country table. Okay, let's try to do it. So I would like to select the sum of the city table.population as the total population, for example. Then I would like to have the continent, so the country table.continent as continent. Of course, we have to specify that we would like to get it from the city as the city table, and of course we would like to join the continent database table as continent table, of course with camel casing, continent table. And of course we have to specify the relationship between the two tables. Of course, again, the city table dot country code is equal to the country table.code. Okay, then we would like to group it. So group by the country table.continent. Okay, and of course I would like to use the order by total population in a descending order. Let's try to make it a bit better format. Okay, it is a bit better. So I would like to select the sum of the population as total population, I would like to do it on every single continent in the country table. Okay. From the city database table as city table, then I would like to join the continent as the continent table. Sorry for that, I would like to join the country, of course. So not the continent table, but the country. Okay, with some typos, of course. So country table on country table code, group by the country table continent, and order by the total population in a descending order. I guess it's going to work just fine, so let's run it. And as you can see, we get the continents Asia, Europe, South America, North America, and so on. So as you can see, Asia has the largest population, then Europe, then South America, then North America, and so on. Okay, so this is how we are able to make some grouping, and this is how we are able to use the join keyword as well for joining two or more tables. Basically, again, it may seem a bit complex query, but if you use this reformat option for the MySQL workbench, I think it's going to be a bit better. That we would like to select, then we would like to join two tables. We just have to specify that what's the relationship between the tables. We have to make some grouping because we would like to end up the total population concerning the continent, and of course the ordering in the end. Thanks for watching. Hi. So far, we have been talking about several SQL statements, and we have been working with the city and country datasets. Okay, in this lecture, I would like to show you an online console. So we just have to type v3 school SQL console, and there's going to be the SQL Try It editor version 1.5. And as you can see, you are able to run SQL queries online without installing MySQL and SQL Server and so on. So there are several databases, as you can see: customers, categories, employees, order details, orders, products, shippers, suppliers, and so on. Okay, why do we need it? Because I would like to show you some examples concerning joining tables on these data sets. So this is what we are going to talk about in the coming lectures. Thanks for watching. Hi. In this lecture, we are going to talk about joining the customers table and the orders table. So for example, we would like to construct a query that's going to select the customer name from the customers table and going to select the order date from the orders table. And as you can see, there's a connection because there's the customer ID in the orders table, and the customer's ID in the orders table is equals to the customer ID in the customers table. So we can do something like this. I would like to select, and again we have to use aliases. We have been talking about joining tables, so c.customer name and the orders.order date from the customer table, so customers as C. So that's why we are able to refer to the customer name in the customers table as c.customer name, because we are going to call the customers database table as C. And of course we have to make some join. What is this join? This is the inner join. So we would like to join the orders table as O. So that's why we are able to select the O.order date from the orders database table, because we are going to use the alias O for the orders database table. And of course we have to tell SQL that what's the relationship between the two tables. So what's the relationship between the customers table and the orders table? Of course this is what we have been discussing, that the customer ID is the same for the customers table and for the orders table. So c.customer ID is equals to the orders.customer ID. Okay, first of all, let's run it. Okay, as you can see, we have managed to get the customer name and the order date. For example, I would like to make some ordering, so order by customer name. So let's run it again, and it's going to be in alphabetical order according to the customer name. And as you can see, there are several customers, so it is the same customer. Why do we have two rows associated with a given name in the result set? Because this around the horn customer ordered two items with this date and with this date. So we are able to use the group by keyword in order to get that how many orders do a given customer have. And this is what we are going to talk about in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. Hi, in the previous lecture we have been talking about how to select the customer name from the customers table and the order date from the orders table. And of course we just have to use a single join, and we have to define the relationship between the two tables. In this lecture we are going to talk about how to select the customer name, and we are curious that how many orders does a given customer have. So as you can see, for example, around the horn has 2 orders and so on. As you can see, this customer, for example, has 4 orders. So this is what we would like to calculate. So I would like to select the customer name, then I would like to count the orders dot customer ID. Okay, I would like to use some alias, so for example, number of orders from the customer database table. And of course it is the C, and we just have to join the orders table as O. Of course we have to define the relationship between the two tables. So the O dot customer ID is equals to the C dot customer ID. And of course we just have to make some groupings. So group by the O dot customer ID. And for example, I would like to make some ordering, order by the number of orders in a descending manner. Okay, sorry for that. This is not the number, but the num of orders. So we would like to refer this name. Okay, so let's run it. And as you can see, we can come to the conclusion that Ernst Handel has ordered the largest number of items, then Quick Stop, then this guy, and so on. So as you can see, we have managed to select the customer name, and we have managed to count that how many items does that given customer ordered. Okay. So we just have to join the tables again. We just have to define the relationship between the two tables. And of course we have to group by the orders customer ID, because we would like to count the same customer ID. For example, if we select everything from the orders, the customer ID may be the same for several rows. And basically we would like to count that how many times the same customer ID occurs in the given database table. So this is how we select the customer name and the number of orders from the orders database table with the help of joining tables and with the help of the group by statement. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about that we will have the countries, for example, United States of America, France, Spain, Japan, China, and so on. And we are curious that how many orders are associated with these given countries. Okay, so this is what we are going to talk about in the next lecture. Thanks for watching. Hi. In this lecture, we are going to join again the customers table and the orders table, because we are curious that we have the countries Germany, Mexico, United Kingdom, Sweden, and how many orders are coming from these given countries. So we just have to select the C dot country. Then we just have to count the O dot customer ID again as the number of orders, okay, from the customers database table as C, and we just have to join the orders database table as O. We have to specify the relationship between the two tables. Of course, the C dot customer ID is the same as the O dot customer ID. And then we have to make some grouping, so group by the CDAT country. Okay, and I would like to make some ordering, so order by num of orders in a descending order. So let's take a look. I think it's going to be just fine. We would like to select the countries and the number of orders, O.customer ID, and we count it from the customers. Then we join orders as O, we define the relationship, we group by according to the countries, and then we make a simple ordering. Let's run it. And as you can see, the United States of America has the largest number of orders, then Germany, then Brazil, then France. So basically, we are able to solve whatever problem we want. We just have to join the tables, join the customers table and the orders table. So this is how we calculate that how many orders are associated with a given country. Thanks for watching.